The Outlast Trials is one of those games where, no matter how much time passes, I consistently find myself going back to it. Whether it's for the gameplay, the admittedly broken but also fun invasion mode, or hell, even the characters. And ever since I delved deeper into the world of Outlast as a whole, I found myself intrigued by just how insane every single character Red Barrel's designs ends up being. But like they say, reality is always stranger than fiction. And while there are many such examples of this, today I want to focus on one specific case, Dale Emanuel Wilson, aka the Loud Sparrow, or better known as Low Tier God. Now, this is far from the first time I've talked about LTG in one of my videos. I made a whole video dissecting the notion that he plays a character on social media. Go watch that if you want to know more about my thoughts on him. Shameless plug aside though, there is a reason why Dale is frequently called the best written non-fiction character. He truly is a one-of-a-kind clown. Writers wish they could conjure up such a multifaceted idiot in their stories. I, however, had a different idea. I wanted to explore an alternate universe in which the Outlast trials are not only real, but also where the Señala facility is still running in modern day. For those of you who don't know, Señala facility is where the Outlast trials take place in the Outlast lore. And not just that, Dr. Easterman is still at the helm of them. Now, how would this work? Let's just not get into the specifics of it, let's just pretend it does. But in this universe, Dr. Easterman has set his sights on his next glorious prime asset, the Low Tier God. Warning before we begin, the Outlast universe is extremely graphic. Things like SA, extreme violence, and disgusting acts are more than common. In this video, I will use some of these factors to expand on the hypotheticals, and it might be a little too much. So if any of this sounds bad, it might be smart for you to turn away. You have been warned. To begin this hypothetical story, we have to make some changes to the existent lore. Like I mentioned, everything will take place in modern day. Everything in the trials will be as it is normally, though just more modern, obviously. Easterman would have heard of Low Tier God by now, whether it is through some clips or even some of his streams, it doesn't really matter. The point is, he has taken an interest in this so-called mentally untouchable deity. Easterman sees through the wall Dale builds, but is also intrigued by the capacity Dale has to influence so many to his side despite his heinous acts. Therefore, he makes the necessary arrangements to capture LTG and introduce him as a new prime asset. Dale's capture is surprisingly easy. The real challenge, however, was convincing the masses of Dale's sudden disappearance. Nothing Murkoff couldn't handle though. So in the late hours of the night, Dale is awoken by a knock on the door. And he is taken. Once Dale is in his first rounds of questioning, Easterman is severely disappointed by Dale's cowardice and refusal to participate in his given role as a prime asset. This forces Easterman to give him the big grunt / Jaeger treatment, which for those of you who don't know is an insane amount of mind-altering substances and growth hormones to improve Dale's mental state and capabilities for the trials. Now here's where we get to the horrible part. As of now, in the Murkoff timeline, it has been extensively documented that Easterman has an odd fascination with the male reproductive organ and items shaped like it. He had this fascination with Franco's Lupara, even shoving it in his mouth, and also he's obsessed with the idea that the sun has a dick. This combined with LTG's utter obsession with his physical appearance and the insane amount of glaze he gives to his supposed BBC.
So now not only do you get to fantasize about me when I'm playing the game, you get to visualize me in a bed, wishing that you can bend me over and stroke my BBC.
Led me to believe that Easterman would seek to extend this faculty to an insane degree. After all the treatments and experiments, the Low Tier God is ready for the trials. And in my mind, this is what has changed. Dale is now around 9 feet tall and built like he ate a sandwich from Castle Crashers. Easterman did this with the hopes that it would make Dale not only capable, but also enlarge his own image to the point he would think he is an actual god. His only piece of clothing is a Murkoff themed Covenant t-shirt. What is covering his lower body then, you say? Nothing. Turns out his supposed BBC is so small, Easterman said, no, we cannot make do with this. So he injected it with an insane cocktail of drugs in the hopes of actually enlarging it and making it a real BBC, but in the end it had to be amputated. Yeah, it's as horrible as it sounds. LTG, though, not letting go of his pride, now uses the severed BBC as a weapon. Now, yeah, I know that's insane, but level with me. I am just trying to roleplay and trying to make this as realistic as possible within the Outlast universe, which, again, if you've played any of these games, you know this is like tame. This is not even that crazy. He calls his new weapon of choice the Covenant branded BBC. Realistically, it is just a toy that LTG uses to simulate him having an actual BBC, but usually he just ends up using it on himself. Due to the constant use of his weapon on other activities, it is permanently covered in Dale's liquids, which, if hitting any player, will make them tainted. Tainted would be the unique effect that this prime asset would have, and its effect would be to make the player so smelly that enemies nearby would be able to smell them and track them easily. Also, if the player is hit by another tainted source, they will vomit 3 seconds after they were hit. Now, LTG by himself is not that big of a threat, as he is not all that imposing and, to be honest, can't deal all that much damage on his own. Even after all those mind-bending and body-altering drugs, Dale is still the same old bitch. But that is why he has his Covenant. Yes, this would be the first prime asset to have his own minions. Low-tier gods Covenant work as enemies that will populate the area he is in at the time, and there are 3 types. The first type is the Loyal Mod. These guys are strong as hell and also really fast, but they are blind due to the unhealthy amounts of physical glazing of low-tier god. They can only hear you if you're nearby, but if you become tainted, they will be able to track you at a medium speed until they find you and give chase. Mind you, when I say track, I mean they can smell you from across the map. They work mainly as a follow-up in case the player becomes tainted, so that they will feel the pressure in case there's no regular X-Pop nearby. Then, there's the second type, the average subscriber. This Covenant member acts as a scout in a way. They will never directly attack the player, but will always roam the map really quickly in search of one. If they find a player, they will make loud noises to draw X-Pop in or whoever is nearby until the player runs away or fights back. They are an annoyance more than anything, and if pushed into a corner will attack the player, sort of like a witness or a pouncer while they're running. Finally, there is the Troll. The Troll will be a bit of a wild card, as all he's trying to do is rile you and Dale up. He is a sneaky enemy, sort of like Bogomolova, but his main goal is to sneak behind the player and steal an item from them. If the player doesn't have an item, they will simply be tainted and pushed to the ground briefly and dealt half a bar of damage. Additionally, the Troll can every now and then bait Dale into swinging into the air and overall just be a nuisance to him. The Troll works like a wild card in the trial. Usually it's just one more factor you have to keep track of during the trial, acting sort of like a Bracken from Lethal Company, but without the insta-kill, obviously. They can also help the player by distracting LTG, but this is completely random and shouldn't really be relied on. Now, while this does sound like a bit much, there is the fact that if you stun any of these Covenant members, they will become permanently knocked out for the rest of the trial. But beware, as if all of his members are knocked out, low tier god will enter ROG mode for the remainder of the trial.
Oh my god!
This makes him faster, stronger, and gives him the ability to stun any players around him by screaming. If Dale is rogged out during the escape rush, his basic attack will become a grab that will play an instant execution on any player. This makes you have to weigh your options and choose whether or not you'd rather face the Covenant or battle the ROG.
It's the same old fucking shit! God damn!
Also, Dale's main prime asset trap would be the ever-present piss bottles.
I'm a strong believer that toilets are not meant to be pissed in. only urinals. Piss splashes all over the seat. It's disgusting. It's unsanitary for a dude to piss in a toilet. So, preferably, I use a bottle.
They would be placed like most other prime asset traps, and if hit, will taint the player. As he already has the Covenant, I felt like it wasn't necessary to give him more than one trap since he already has enough map control. Low tier God would also have a special interaction when it comes to executing reagents. If he is by himself, he is the weakest, as he pitifully tries to eliminate a reagent with his BBC. If he is kicked off, he will play a longer recovery animation than other prime assets, where he complains.
God, dude! What a fucking plate on me!
However, if at least one of his Covenant members are nearby, he will command them to hold the reagent while he beats them. The more Covenant members, the quicker the execution is. Additionally, kicking LTG off of the execution won't immediately free the downed reagent, as the Covenant members will loyally hold down the reagent until their glorious king returns. There is a small chance too that during this execution, if the troll is present, he might actually sabotage the whole execution, pushing Dale off, making him extremely mad, and also throwing a rock at the player. Like I said, it's random and it's a low chance, but he's just a wild card. He does whatever he wants. Low tier God's trial environment would be the Section 8 project based housing. His main trial would be called Ban the Streamer, in which you would have to make your way through the labyrinthian hallways and buildings of the Section 8 housing while transporting the streamer's biggest fan, who is obviously not an LTG fan and is probably just a reagent or somebody who crossed Murkoff, but in the end of the trial, you would arrive at LTG setup and would have to kill the fan in front of the camera to get LTG banned. Now, as to how you would do it, I don't really know, to be honest. I leave that kind of thing to the twisted minds up at Red Barrels, but yeah, I still felt like I needed to add a trial victim, as it would be LTG's main trial, and it is a staple in the game to almost always have an innocent person you end up murdering in these things. Overall, I envision LTG as a prime asset that is able to cause chaos in number, but by himself is pretty pathetic unless pushed to his absolute limit, in which he becomes a force to be reckoned with, kind of like a mini Jaeger in a way. Honestly, this is probably the weirdest video I've ever made, but it was just such a stupidly interesting idea that I just felt like I had to try it. I love the Outlast trials, and more than making this shitpost, I actually wanted to take a crack at creating an enemy within the game's world. How do you feel? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm a psychopath? Whatever it is, leave it in the comments, as I always read them. I would appreciate a like or even a sub if you enjoyed the vid, even a little bit. This took a lot of effort. Way too much. I mean, the amount of Dale clips and research I had to make just for this. Also, writing the script, it was crazy. So, I really would appreciate any kind of support. Have a great day or night, and I hope everybody who watched this or who didn't watch it, whatever, I hope you all have a great day. I love you all. Bye.